So welcome to our audience around the world. Thanks for tuning in for the Greatness Engineering Show. My name is Mireille Tulekima. I'm also known as the Greatness Engineer. I'm going to be your host today. I'm the founder of the Mireille Tulekima Global Leadership Organization, and that's the organization actually sponsoring this show. And as part of our as a mission, we empower individuals and we inspire them to be able to define and design their own success and basically, become the best that they can be and really live their life in their own terms. So we provide them with a sustainable and authentic development approach, and which help them to create engineer greatness or create, the positive impact that they want to create in their environment or in whatever whatever area that they really want to focus on. So our ultimate goal is to better the world, and we've carried this philosophy through this show where we invite people who have stories of triumph, or who can share a specific expertise or experience with us. So today, we've had some outstanding guests the last few weeks, and today is no exception. We have two amazing women with us today for the next hour. We have Dr. Ruby, all the way from Switzerland, and Sheila. Sheila is based in London, in the UK. I'm just going to introduce them briefly, and then they'll get the opportunity to introduce themselves more in detail. Dr. Ruby is actually an incredible woman. She has won some awards, and she's a TEDx speaker, and she's been a panelist in prestigious events in the United Nations, in Switzerland, and around the world. So she's a highly reputable, innovative academician. She's a social entrepreneur. She's a global ambassador for women, and she's also a public speaker, a professor, mentor, and a humanitarian. And she focused some of her work on women empowerment and emotional intelligence. And Sheila has a very intriguing story and yet inspiring. She's a personal development life coach, and she's a sleep paralysis expert. So that's the first time I hear about this niche. And she's also a best-selling author and a speaker. She has had a long history of sleeping paralysis, and I think she's going to she's going to talk a little bit more about it during the show. And so after secretly living with chronic sleep paralysis for over 30 years, she decided to talk about it, to break her silence, and it actually helped her to actually do what she's doing right now. And it led to a breakthrough experience. And so we're really looking forward to hear a lot about it today. So Dr. Ruby and Sheila, welcome to the Greatness Engineering Show. It's a real honor for me to have you today. And I really thank you for taking the time to spend an hour with us today. So I'm just going to, start as usual, ask you to introduce yourself a little bit more in detail, and really tell us, how you came to do what you do, how you started, and really have the story behind what you're doing right now and what you've experienced so far. So I'll start with Dr. Ruby, if you can start on that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mireille, for such a wonderful introduction. It's really an honor to be at your show and be live with both of you as well as Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
I've read a lot about both of you, and I'm happy that we are sharing the stage presence, that too with a live audience. So thank you very much. Yes, my journey in Switzerland started when I got married. And I was in this beautiful country thinking, just as it's shown in our movies, you know, I'm going to be in a very beautiful place and all wonderful, all happening. But it was not so happening in the middle of all the things that were going around, because it was a new thing. It was completely new. And what I faced initially was a big cultural shock, coming from India to a place after being married, and that to an arranged marriage. I did not know my husband before I was getting married to him. It was arranged marriage, which was organized by our parents. So it was a big shock there as well, but a good one.
Imagine. That was daring, I think.
Yes, in the beginning, because I was going to something which was completely unknown, unexperienced. So it was, but marriage was good. It was wonderful. I was really happy and fortunate to meet my husband. And in this country, you know, I was in the beginning not very sure that I will be working here, because we were here for a short period of time. He was here as an expatriate. So in the beginning, I just wanted to be and take the, you know, beauty of this place. But by and by, I thought, like, you know, I should do something, because just sitting is not something that defines me. So I started working. I started teaching in the private university here. So my career as a international teacher started here in Switzerland, which was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed starting in all girls women's college. And in a span of almost 4 months, I was appointed as the academic dean of the place, because of some of the changes that I initiated in the college at a time that they were not using anything which was to do with technology. Everything was blackboard, textbooks, you know, paper, and like everything which was the way it used to be back then. So it was a big change in terms of making a little bit more easier, so that, you know, the girls are more comfortable and they enjoy what they are doing. And I started my journey here as academic dean of a very reputed girls' college. In the beginning, it was fun, but later on, I started experiencing some of the issues, because other women, other professors, were not used to that kind of working. As we say, whenever there's a change, it is for a good. But to experience from stage A to stage B is not so easy. The transition is always as wow as we want it to be. So I had to work a little bit on that with my team of other teachers, with our director and all the academic staff, to make it a little bit more convenient and fun for everyone. And by and by, it started becoming more and more wonderful. My journey here was a bit of, I would say, mix of plus and minus, because as a management professor, it was a very male dominated.
Okay.
We had more guys teaching, you know, because I was in one of these colleges, I was the dean, but I wanted to go to other colleges as well to explore and make it a little bit more challenging. So during the last 18 years, I have been teaching in different colleges, both hospitality and management. So apart from being the dean of this place and trying to prove myself and exploring more and more, I had to face those, you know, the glass ceiling, as we say. I did face that, because some of the things were just reserved up there for the guys.
Yes, and that's that's something you know you always have to fight against, especially when you are in a male-dominated environment. I come as well from a male. I've worked mostly in male-dominated environment as well, so I really understand what it's all about. So really good. We'll come back on that, because I think that's a key point, especially since we're going to talk about empowerment and you know, all of that. So I'll come back to you. Just going to give Sheila the chance to introduce herself a little bit more, and I really want to know about this sleeping paralysis, because I'm really curious about it. The floor is yours, Sheila. You're muted.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me start though by saying thank you. This is really an honor to be here, to be able to speak to our audiences live on the show. and also to be here with you two fantastic women, you know, so thank you again for inviting me. But where do I start? Sleep paralysis. I would say that if I could just give a little bit of background, I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for all of my life. I mean, I started that career when I was about 17, teaching and working mainly with adults, teaching a range of different subjects. But for a long time, I worked at a fairly professional level in kind of senior and higher management positions. And it was really sometime early this year that I decided, for me, it feels as though I'm kind of coming out and I'm speaking publicly about a part of my life that has really been quite private for many, many years. And that's the area of the sleep paralysis, because whilst working professionally and teaching, I never shared it publicly apart with my most immediate family. The sleep paralysis, though, let me just explain for everybody what it is. You go to sleep normally, like any other night, but at some point during your sleep, you awaken. Now, the sense of awakening isn't like a dream, but you wake up and you're aware that you're sleeping very much so. You feel around you, you know that you're in the bed. You feel around you a darkness, and it's almost as though you open your eyes and you can see you, a sense of foreboding, and fear starts to creep up on you as you start to say to yourself, what's going on? Is this a dream? Am I awake? Am I sleeping? What's going on here? It's almost as though consciously you're trying to figure out what's happening. During this time, and I'm not even sure if it's seconds or minutes, but you start to notice panic and fear increases more so. You then start to kind of see the outline of some of them. Some of them can appear like shadows. Some of them are at the side of the room watching. But at some point, and not every time, that you can feel a great pressure come down on your chest. And that's when the panic really does hit you. You're frozen, you feel like you can't breathe, you're immobilized, and you try to move and then find that you can't move any part of your body. I mean, in that state, I mean, you're terrified. And at some point, you may be able to move an eyelid or a toe or part of your finger. And that seems to break the spell. Once you do that, you then come out of it, you then wake up, and you're still kind of like shaking and terrified, because you're saying, what did I just go through there? What did I experience? Because you're very much aware that it wasn't a dream. There's no storyline, there's no characters or plots or anything like that. You just know that you just experienced something that really terrified you and left you feeling with fear. So going through that, as I did quite chronically, a couple of times a week, I was experiencing that during my sleep state. I was becoming more and more tired because I wasn't sleeping. I was afraid to sleep. There's a fear of sleeping because I just remember thinking, they're going to get me whilst I'm sleeping. They're going to come for me whilst I'm sleeping. I mean, I didn't know what to do. You search for books, you look on the internet, you may confide in somebody, but no one has any solutions or answers. No one knows about this. I even remember going to the doctor once, and the doctor said to me, well, you're tired, Sheila, just get some more sleep. And I thought that this doctor really doesn't have a clue, because how can he be telling me to get more sleep when I'm
not sleeping?
I'm sleep, you know. I was in, and then, you know, I'm trying to kind of, you know, maintain appearances for the sake of work and family and friends, but yet still there's this thing at night, and there's also kind of dark, evil, demonic kind of connotations with it, because you don't know what's going on, and it feels very evil, and something foreboding is really going on here at night time whenever I sleep, you know. I mean, one thing I did know is that a lot of other people experience it. It's not rare to me. And at the time, I realized that whilst other people experienced it, we were all kind of searching to know more about what's going on. Over a period of time, I changed certain behaviors, certain patterns, and was able to remove it. It stopped now. It stopped now. It no longer happens. But I had to go through a process of learning about it and understanding about it to remove it from my nights. But what has happened is it has transformed. It's morphed into something a lot more broader and a lot more significant, because I'm now very much clear in the knowing that it's a spiritual engagement, and that it has to do, it's because we are fearful. We fear certain things, so we perceive things fearfully. So if you change that perception, then your experience will be different, you know. But what I decided to do was to write a book about the sleep paralysis and about the exercises and things that can be done to remove it and transform it, because it doesn't happen to everybody. It's about spiritual alignment and spiritual acuity, and about the energy, the spiritual energy that surrounds us all. So right now, I mean, I have the book out. It's a best-selling book, and I'm very, very proud. I'm very, very proud of that. I'm doing spiritual life coaching, and I'm working with other people who don't just experience sleep paralysis, but are in need or want support with personal development or their spiritual development. I'm doing that work now, having gone through this transition.
So basically something that was actually an hindrance and something, you know, that you were fearing has become a very positive, you know, have helped you to create a positive impact in your environment and in your life. So that's really, you know, that's really powerful, and the process must have been painful. So just coming back to that, because you obviously went through a lot of challenges, and it's the same with Ruby, coming from a different culture, working in a male-dominated environment. So, I mean, those challenges, how, you know, what is the process that you've used? I mean, what is the rhetoric that you put into your head to tell yourself, you know, those challenges are real, but I'm going to keep going, and, you know, what are the tools that you've used for that? And I know that, Rudy, you into emotional intelligence. Is emotional intelligence actually help you to go through those difficult moments? Ruby, Dr. Ruby.
Yes, I try to get more and more into emotional intelligence, because I felt even if I'm intelligent, even if I know what I'm doing, even if I'm academically qualified to teach what I'm doing, sometimes that is not sufficient. We need to get across, we need to go a bit further than what, you know, we are supposed to do. So what I started doing was, since it was a very male dominated sector, so for me to be a little bit more acceptable and do the things a little differently and to get noticed, I started connecting with my students, with other people a little bit more emotionally. Not just teaching, but going beyond it. And when I say going beyond it, that is try to come out of the conservative or traditional form of teaching, you know. So getting across, like becoming a little bit more of a counselor, because all these students, they come from different countries, so they are international students coming to Switzerland for studies. So not just playing the role of a teacher, but more than that, for some being like a elder sister, for some being like because at the time when I was teaching, the difference in age was not so much that I could be like a mother, but I tried to be like a big sister figure for them, which helped a lot. So instead of being a traditional teacher that I am always correct or I know what needs to be done, I started to connect more and more with myself first, at how I felt when I came here, how I felt when I was in a country where I did not know the language, where I was struggling with basic things. And these are younger people, in the age group of, I would say 18 to 25, how they must be feeling when they are here. So first I started knowing my own feelings, and then I started connecting with these students in order to understand them better. And I think that was the beginning of how my students also started noticing these things and asking me as their mentor, because we had mentor protege kind of programs as well, where once you start doing it, you start feeling and you start giving more. Instead of just those regular teaching hours, you start going beyond the classroom as well. And I think that was the awakening for me, because I thought, as Sheila just said, that it's something spiritual. So I felt the same thing. My role is not just limited to being a teacher or a professor, but it's something else. I have God has sent me with a different responsibility. And that's how and when I started doing a little bit extra in terms of not just as a teacher, but also connecting people, connecting more and more like-minded people. And that gave birth to my small, social organization that's called Intercultural. Where I started getting more and more women, who were like me when I came here. Some of them were like me when I came to this country, and some of them, they are still kind of lost. They don't know what they are doing. They have come either because of some problems back home in their country, or they are married and they are here, but they are not educated. They are not educated to have a career and keep themselves busy. And I started getting connected with more and more such people to make a network where we can help each other. Women can support other women either by giving them some tasks, some kind of responsibility, or it's not just necessary for them to work, but do something that they feel valued. Because there are a lot of us, we know we have this expertise, but we are not confident.
And that's a big one for women.
Exactly. And that's where I again do a lot of connections using emotions, connecting these women with others and giving them confidence that you are something wonderful. Believe in yourself. You don't have to feel hopeless. You don't have to feel I'm good for nothing. I'm just a housewife. You don't call yourself just a housewife. You are a woman first.
Exactly.
First, start to recognize that and celebrate that. Once you start doing that, then automatically you will start doing things which you will feel wonderful about. But don't do this self-pity, because the more you do self-pity, it's just going to take you down and down. You're not going to go up or go for something which is waiting up there. So this is what we do in these networks. We try to push each other. We try to give a platform for the haves and have-nots, the women who are already up there, who are doing something great, and those who are still struggling or not sure where we are going or where they are supposed to go. So I'm trying to connect the bridge.
So
and this I do talking. This I do by talking to them or organizing some workshops where everyone is connected and do these kind of preachings or mentoring.
So it's good to know, and that's what I'm going to bring here, the education system, because it's quite a rigid way of looking at it, and yet we are not one-dimension individuals. There's several dimensions that we need to be developed, where we need to develop ourselves. And going to school, we don't have the feeling that that's what happened. They just develop us academically most of the time. And then all the spiritual and, emotion part is left out. And I really wanted to ask you, Sheila, as an educator and with your experience, your spiritual experience and probably psychic experience, how did you actually translate it into your student? Because the education system itself is not always very flexible. So how do how did you juggle with that, and how successful you are? Because people are sometimes very, skeptical when you start to put spiritual things into it, they start to say, okay, is she crazy or not? So I really want to know your experience and, tell us a little bit more about it.
There's so much to that question there,
Yeah.
I think that I start from the place where I'm very much aware that we're all connected in some way, we're all, I mean, you can look at it from I know that there's a lot of talk right now about, let's say, law of attraction, words like synergy, words like alignment. These words are now becoming more commonplace, in our everyday language, more so than maybe 5, even 10 years ago. We talk those kinds of words, but I'm very clear that by me helping you or supporting somebody who is in need, I'm really helping myself as well, because we're all connected in this world, and that there must be something in me to have connected with you for there to be that synergy and that alignment that has brought us together. So I'm always very much aware of that, and try to do whatever I can in all instances to help persons who are in need. As an educator, I think that again, persons would be attracted to me that feel as though they can get some benefit from me, some help from me, so that I can support them on their journeys. I think that it's also important to say that the journey doesn't just start here and now today. There's been a long road before somebody gets to the point that they're at now. They didn't just appear now as the person that they are. And sometimes you have to go through unwanted physical experiences to know what you really want. This life is very much about balance. And so therefore, by going through what you don't really want and things and experience that could be perceived as negative, you then are quite clear about the experiences that you do really want. And then you may even recognize that what was a negative experience right now can be perceived as something that is really positive, because it helps you get from A to B to where you are now, So there really is this journey that takes us, and it's almost as though it's preparing us for other things, for expansion and for growth and for developing ourselves a lot more, I mean, one of the questions you asked was, how successful am I? People may think that I'm a bit crazy and she's lost the plot kind of thing. I'm talking about energy and spirits and, things that one can't see, but I'm quite clear in the knowing that the persons that connect with me already have some level of understanding and awareness, despite how it may sound verbally, So for them to be having a conversation with me, or even to the extent tuning in and listening right now to what I'm saying, there are some questions that they're asking themselves internally. There are some things that they don't quite understand that they want to know a bit more about, which all feeds their personal growth and their expansion and their understanding of the life that they're living. I think also, you know, we are all searching, we're all growing, we want more and more knowledge, information, and the questions that they're asking would feed that, you know. The persons that would come into my sphere and are listening to me would be persons who are seeking answers and feel to some extent that I'll be able to help them along their personal journey, you know. So in terms of success, I would say I'm hugely successful. I mean, I do have a lot of people come to me. I have a lot of people, I try to be quite open, and sometimes that kind of works because I'm inundated with questions and people wanting support and so forth, you know. But I don't think I really measure success in a black and white way, you know. I do the best that I can do and try to be as clear as I can in my understanding and my knowing, because I think that there's something about being able to say something and speak about something when no one else believes you, no one else understands you, and they just don't get it. But you are confident in who you are and clear about what you know, that you will continue and speak and express yourself based on your faith and your belief and your knowing, you know. And I like to see myself as that person and be a role model for others who are perhaps worried about what other people will say, what other people will think, not so confident about their personal belief and expressing that. I want to raise the flag and say, you know what, you should just go for it. Just express yourself, stand in your own power, you know, and trust in your own belief. Those who are aligned with that will be attracted to you. Those who aren't aligned will not come into your sphere or into your orbit. I think what's important is that you follow your personal path and you ensure that you yourself are happy and comfortable within yourself. I think that that's vital. We all have one life to live, you know, and it's important that you are as happy in that life as you possibly can be. And that does mean taking hold of your own power and living life by your terms.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I've
answered. No, it's actually very powerful. I really like it. You know, there've been a lot of points, but what the key one that you know that struck me is that at the end of the day, it starts with us. We have the power, and we should really use this power, and not really, you know, focus on the external power, because we have this power within, and that's the most important thing that's actually going to connect us to the rest of the, you know, of the individuals. And it's strong. It's very strong. I mean, the way it's explained, I mean, you know, it's really powerful. So, I mean, Dr. Rudy, I know that you do a lot of, you know, you dance. So, you know, and you know, what is dancing for you? And what, I mean, in terms of impacting people, is it a tool that you use to complement what you already have as a teacher? Because I know that, you know, we are multidimensional individuals. We are spirit, we have body, and so I just want to understand where dancing is actually fitting into the whole equation of your life.
I'm very passionate about dancing. I just love dancing. And for me, dancing is a form of expression, you know. So I tell my students who are especially shy or who don't like to speak in the class so much, I just tell them, think as if you are in a room and you put your best music, the music that you like, and dance as if no one is watching. So when I say that, they feel like, yes, like, it motivates them. It makes them feel a little different. So sometimes I use this tactic to motivate my students and make them a little bit, just believe in yourself and get rid of the things that someone is watching. Or if I say a wrong answer, the others are going to be judgmental. She doesn't know this, or he's stupid. He is not so well educated, and things like that. So dancing for me is just a way you have to express yourself. And when I do it, I feel very happy. I enjoy it. So same, I try to compliment when I'm teaching. Like I tell a lot of my students who now come to me when they are doing presentations, because in management or hospitality, you have to present, you have to give lots and lots of formal presentations, not just the written exams. So some of them who come from Asian countries, they are a bit shy to speak. So I tell them, look yourself in the mirror, okay? See what is it? Do you like what you're seeing? Do you don't like what you're seeing? Or you are happy about what you're seeing? So some of them, they're like, I don't do that. So I said, if you don't do, you better do it to understand how it feels, because once you do it, you will experiment it more and more. And same with dance. It's not important that how you dance, whether you are doing the right steps, wrong steps, or whether it's looking nice on me or not nice on me. Just do it, put the music and do. Same as you have your things that you need to present as a presentation. Just read it. Not just read like, for the heck of, I'm going this, no. Read it as if you are a panelist, or you are an actress or actor doing it. So when I say these kind of things, students feel it is different for them, because they look for something innovative. The millennials of today, they are very different from what we were. For them, it is stimulating when you see someone is trying to cut or talk outside the box. It's not something which is like go by the rule of the book. So as an educator, our responsibility is even more, because we need to be, as Sheila said, we need to be their role model. And if you try to say something which others have not said before, or you are giving an example, or you're setting an example, or setting a standard, students like it more. So for them, when I compliment my dancing, or when I compliment my unique forms of presentation with them, how to present, they like it a lot. And they implement it. There are a lot of my students who write to me, like who had been my students 10 years back or 15 years back. They write to me and they say that, what you used to do back then in the classrooms, we have started implementing those things with our peers, as well as our people who are working for us. And they enjoy it. They work more. They don't complain so much. Sometimes it's important to do something different, like sometimes I also take my students outside, instead of having case study discussion. If it's not something that I need to have my PowerPoint presentation, or I need to have a beamer, I take them outside. We have classes in the garden. I say everyone can have a cup of coffee or tea, whatever you are comfortable with, and we can have a discussion. And I noticed when we move out of the regular surroundings, they perform much better, because they feel no one is watching. And I say, don't like a classroom. Just feel, just talk what you want to talk. And they feel very interested. They discuss things which normally when they're in the classrooms, they don't discuss. I try to mix and match, where I can bring dancing, where I can bring acting, where I can make them feel like as an actor, because each one of us is unique. All these students, they're coming from different diverse backgrounds. So you have to make them feel special. You have to make them feel valued. Not that I'm the boss and you are my student, but we are equals. Yeah. And then they enjoy, and then they perform. I think they perform much better. They perform much better because they feel valued.
Yeah, so basically you have to show them respect, and then you get the respect back. Exactly. And then if you value them, they will value as well what you bring on the table as well. Exactly. So which is really, something that a lot of teachers need to understand, because sometimes it's just about, okay, I have the knowledge, so I'm basically the king in the class. And, as some teacher don't really want to have a special connection with their,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with their student, and it actually impair, you know, the student ability to learn and really be willing to actually be taught by those teachers. So that's, you know, that's.
I just want to add something, Muriel, if I'm not
Go ahead.
saying a lot. As a teacher, sometimes, you know, I try to do something which is different in terms of like learning with Legos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I'm teaching them structures or if I'm teaching them team building, you know, instead of
Mm-hmm.
talking about teams or groups, we do it with Legos.
Mm-hmm.
Or teaching diversity using different kind of dolls. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
every girl likes to play with dolls. But
Mm-hmm.
imagine you have a doll in the class and the boys are also discussing
That's in the
it.
dolls. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
so if you do something just with a book, it doesn't really work and students don't remember. But when we do something with like playing with Legos in the class or taking outside, they remember that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that you discuss during those situations, it is something that is long durée. Like, you know, they still remember, oh, we used to do this, or we used to
Mm-hmm.
have discussions in the cafe. And that is something I want, that my students should not remember things by memorizing, but
Mm-hmm.
by doing it, you know,
Yeah.
learning by doing. Whether you do it with Legos, whether you do it with innovative styles like teaching diversity using different kinds of Barbies in the class, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it is something more fun and role playing. Because if I say I'm acting like Muriel, but I don't know what Muriel does, you know, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be. But if I say, if I have to put myself, if I'm empathizing with you, I will tend to perform better because I'm thinking like you.
Yeah. I'm in your
So these are just the
position.
ways, so these are just the ways that which students will understand better
Mm-hmm.
and learn better rather by memorization.
Yeah, that's just good. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, that's very important, because it's and I hope, you know, a lot of educator are actually listening, because, and even coach, because it's valid for coach, mentors, so that they understand that, you know, we are different, you know, in the way we learn, and you have to bring this innovation with diversity in teaching as well. Uh, there's, you know, you obviously, I mean, went through, I mean, different experiences, and I mean, there's probably been, you know, a lot of challenge, like I said, in your journey. So I really want to know, what are the pillar of your success? I know we talked a little bit about success with Sheila, where we actually said that success is not something static. It's actually a personal thing. So I mean, and that's why I'm asking. For me, you are successful in what you've done, because you have your own definition of success. So I really want to know what have been your pillar, you know, in your personal journey for this success to happen, and you know, what are the specific roadblocks that you know, you think that as an individual we should watch out if we really want to accomplish, you know, what we said we want to do. Sheila, what do you think?
I think that for me, I've had to overcome several. I mean, I think one of the things that you had said earlier in summarizing, you had said that it's all about the individual. It's about you. Yeah, it's about you. You have the ability to shape your environment. And I think that I've had to overcome some internal issues that relate to the way how I think about things, thinking it's not going to work, or maybe I shouldn't do this. And then recognizing that I'm thinking these negative and self-defeating thoughts, and stopping them and overcoming those thoughts. Because as I said, that the journey didn't just start here and now. There's been many, many years that's built up to this point, and many, many bad behaviors or habits that have been formed that really didn't serve me and don't serve a lot of people. So the thinking the negative thoughts is one, and stopping them. Worthiness is another. Am I worthy to do this? Should I be the one? Maybe it should be somebody else, you know, those kinds of things internally, again, is another potential roadblock, a potential hurdle to overcome it because of past experiences and past behaviors. These things have been built up internally. And I'm such a core believer that we have the ability to manifest and bring about whatever we choose. So if within us we have doubt, then we will have shaky and doubtful experiences. If we are strong and focused, what comes to us will be very clear. So when you do have roadblocks coming into your life, you have to question, why am I having these roadblocks? Because it's coming from you as an individual. So if you're having these roadblocks, then there's something within you that you are blocking, that you are doubting, that you're not letting flow through easily. If it were a few years back, I would be talking about things like gender, race as potential roadblocks. I'd be saying, it's because I'm a woman, or it's because I'm black, or it's because. That would be a few years ago.
Lots of excuses.
Lots of excuses.
Yeah.
Hey, there's always an excuse to be found.
Yeah.
But now where I am, I'm just so clear in knowing that I am the creator of it all, So I have the ability to bring forth what I want. And I would say this to persons who are listening, who experiences roadblocks along the way, just take some time and step back from it all. Assess what's going on. If you're not getting the job, if you're not meeting the man or woman that you want, if things aren't going as you would want in your life, just take a step back and assess it from a distance and reflect it back to you and say to yourself, well, how do I figure in all of this? Because it begins and ends with you. From that perspective. And of course, the energy and your vibration and frequency has an awful lot to do with it. But just by starting from there and doing that initial assessment on yourself is really the best place to start.
And that's the most difficult, because when we tend to stumble, we want to find something external as an excuse, or it's somebody else, or it's because I'm not lucky. But we don't actually go and think first to go inside and really do this analysis that you're talking about, and try to understand that we actually are the originator of whatever is happening in our life. And so there's a lot of education to be done in this area, because like we can see, this world is a lot about material, it's a lot about external impact, and people don't always have time to go inside and reflect on their life, on whatever have happened to them, on the connection that they have with different people, and they don't take the time to do that. So it's a good reminder, and I hope the audience is taking note. What about you, Dr. Ruby? What have been your pillars, and how did you actually manage those roadblocks, and what are the ones that you think we should as an individual really watch out, and when we go through them?
I think to be successful, it is first important that you should know yourself. You should know your strengths very well. So you need to do your SWOT first, analyze your strengths. These are my good points. And also with the strengths, weaknesses, because everyone wants to see mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of us all. But in that rat race, we don't see our weaknesses. So we have to have a good balance in the terms of the strengths which are there, how we can sustain them, how we can work on them to make it better. And at the same time, not forget the weaknesses, because we all have flaws. We are not perfect. So always work on those flaws. Don't think that you are perfect and you have everything. You need to be consistent in your approach. Keep on working. Be consistent, keep on working. Never think I'm up there, like I have reached the pinnacle. Because if you are satisfied, if you are content that I'm up there, I don't need to do anything more, then then there's no challenge. You're just putting a block for yourself. So keep doing. And of course, as I said, I faced the glass ceiling back then, but I worked consistently. I never sat back thinking I am there. Even though my students would be coming, I would have 100% attendances in my classes, which some students would come and then they would leave when the other professor is about to come. Sometimes they would leave and I would see it happening. But then I was like, focus on your thing. Don't get distracted that they are coming to your classes or they are appreciating your things. It's great, but you can't ignore that maybe today they are great. If I don't work on my weaknesses, or if I don't work on my not so good points, they might do the same for me tomorrow. So I kept on working on my not so good points, and at the same time, what I did was I kept on doing value addition. I kept on studying, I kept on doing something, reading, watching videos about successful people in the world, across the world, how they did, what they did, reading about them. So when I used to read about them, and now people are approaching me to write stories about me or share platform, they're giving me platform to share my story, I feel I'm going up there. It is something like I define success as not counting the bank balance, not counting what kind of house I live or what kind of car I drive, but by the respect I see in my students' eyes, the respect I see in the eyes of the women, the networks that I have created here in India as well. When I go back and I see the respect that they give, or the connection that I have as a global goodwill ambassador, I'm connected to a lot of people in Africa, in African countries, where they say, we just want our daughters to be like you. So when they say that for me is like,
that's it, yeah.
that's it. I want no more. More. For me, I feel so good. I feel like, I'm not able to express myself, but I just feel that, God, this is what you had sent me for. With my voice, I'm reaching the villages, I'm reaching the jungles, places where internet is not there. So they download my YouTube videos to share with people. And that's something great, because when people call me whom I don't know, they just connect with me via Facebook or via LinkedIn, and they say, can we download these videos? I said, go for it. Share as much as possible, because I believe if more and more people empower each other, connect with each other, world will become a beautiful place. We need to connect, we need to share, and that's how the success will just come. Don't think about it, it will just follow.
Exactly. So it's not a closed environment. Like we were saying at the beginning, we're all connected. So you have to keep, getting the knowledge, keep learning a little bit more, but knowing that you are connecting to others and keep giving to them, and you get something back as well. So that's beautiful. There's a question that I really always ask my guests, and this question is always there: is what are your expectations for the future, and what legacy do you really want to leave? Sheila.
That's another, you've got these big questions around.
Yeah.
I want to leave a legacy related to an expansion of thought, especially around sleep paralysis and our spirituality and the world outside our physical beings, I'd like to add something to the knowledge that we already have in the area, and so that it can so that we as humans can kind of keep evolving and growing and becoming more enlightened and aware of what we truly are fully, because I think that right now we're quite limited in our abilities and understanding who we are. So I would like to add to that, and that's really the legacy that I would like to leave by increasing that knowledge for persons, really, you know.
Yeah, wow, I'm blown away. It's like, you know, we basically are limitless, and you know, you really want to, you know, carry this torch and say you have to understand that you're limitless, and really, you know, get to know yourself and get to know that you have the power and you are limitless. You can do so many things. Wow, I'm just, you know, I'm just so happy to hear that and blown away. So, Dr. Ruby, your legacy, what do you want it to be?
I want people to remember my voice. I want to create awareness through my voice, through my talks, that education is a continuous mission. Don't stop. Never stop. Keep on educating yourself. I'm not talking about degrees. I'm not talking about diplomas. I'm talking about education of life. Educate yourself, learn to respect, learn to love, learn to care and share. Because the more you do it, the more world will become a beautiful place. So keep connecting, believe in your power, because as you said, it's limitless. We don't know what our powers are. There's no definition. We can't measure it. So just keep on exploring. We all are unique. Learn to love your uniqueness, experiment it, and play with it every day as it's your last day.
Wow, it's what a way to end. I mean, the audience, you're so lucky today to have those really, you know, wise women, and finishing to such a big note. It has been powerful and wonderful, very inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Ruby and Sheila. It was a pleasure to have you on the Greatness Engineering Show, and you really live to the mission of the show, which is to be inspiring and really, you know, educate, you know, our audience to know that they are limitless, and to push them to take massive action, which is the continuous learning that you were talking about during the show. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And I really, really love the show today. And I wish you all the best, and really carry your legacy, because those are very, very big legacy that you want to leave. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. It was really a pleasure, and I really enjoyed the show, and I hope our viewers also enjoyed. Thank you once again, Muriel.
You're welcome.